If you've ever wondered how to use YouTube to drive qualified leads, scale your firm, and deliver client experiences that keep people for life, this conversation is going to be for you. My guest today is the industry's top YouTube marketing expert, in my opinion. His YouTube systems have helped him generate tens of millions in new AUM, and today he's going to walk us through exactly how he did it. And he's also the creator of The Future of Advice, a course that helps financial advisors build scalable client-first practices. This is a highly actionable episode that will help you grow your business.
You're listening to the Resilient Advisor podcast. This episode of the Resilient Advisor is brought to you by the Titleist Advisor Network, where independent financial advisors become resilient, high-growth business owners. Since 2003, we've been private equity-free, helping advisors build real equity in their firms. Learn more at jointitleist.com.
Welcome to the Resilient Advisor podcast, where we bring industry experts to help you build your business your way. My name is Jay Coulter, and my guest today is Dave Zoller, founder of Streamline Financial and the creator of The Future of Advice, a course that helps financial advisors build scalable client-first practices. Now, if you're catching this broadcast live on LinkedIn, YouTube, or X, and you want to ask Dave a question, please just reach out by posting a question in the comments. Dave, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me. One quick thing, the Future of Advice Academy, I'd say Ron Bullis is the mastermind behind it. I've got some good, we teamed up. So that's really everything you need to be an advisor. But just wanted to make that clear. Ron Bullis, LifeWorks is his firm. So other than that, I'm ready to go.
Awesome. I'll make sure all that is clear in our notes. So tell me, Dave, you have been thought of as a real thought leader around YouTube marketing. And so you've been very generous with your time. You were on Brad Johnson's podcast about a year ago, and you walked advisors through your framework on how you can go and build a YouTube presence. It was an excellent, excellent podcast. And then earlier this year, you were at the Jolt conference put on by Snappy Kraken, which is an advisor marketing conference. And I went to go to your session, and this was my view. Absolutely packed house, the most popular session at the most popular conference for advisor marketing. And it's because you have a great way of laying out exactly how advisors should think through building out their YouTube presence. So given all of the content that you've put out there and given AI today, I was able to go out and watch everything that you put out there and go and put together a set of questions that I'm hoping we could use as a framework for helping advisors build their own process. Does that work for you?
Yeah, that sounds great.
All right. So in all the interviews you've given in this industry, generously, you've talked about how ego and fear and looking foolish may hold advisors back from actually starting. Why is a mindset of service so important when focusing on your YouTube system?
Yeah, I would say that service over results is important, especially in the beginning, because you're going to just get hit so many times and you're just going to really hit the wall when trying to create content for the first time if you've never done it before, whether it's writing online or whether it's creating videos, short videos or long videos. It's not easy and it's not easy to be consistent for most people. So reframing it from this point of view of, I'm going to do this video so that people reach out to me and that we get new clients. That's the goal. I just reframed it to say, if I can create something that's going to be helpful for 1 or 5 people and they watch it and maybe they get a little insight they didn't have before, that's going to be success. So reframing the success from results to really just service, that was key. And the cool thing about this is this mindset helps with recording too, because it's kind of odd if you've never done it before to look at a camera and have to talk. It's just not normal for most people. And when I was seeking to perform and look at the camera, I was nervous. But if I'm seeking to serve instead, then I'm not nervous. So it's just a total different mindset. It's made everything so much easier thinking that way.
So I read or listened to you talking about your launch. And you said your channel took like 8 months to get to even 70 subscribers, and you just kept posting weekly. What commitment level would you recommend to new advisors that are new to YouTube marketing? And what systems or habits helped you stay consistent when the results really just weren't there?
Yeah. I would say that so for the first 10 months, yeah, 0 to 70 subscribers. One of the things that helped with consistency was, again, just some of the videos got 5 views or 10 or 20, and not looking at those as views, but looking at them as people, like people that I was able to talk to asynchronously and help them in some way. That was big. And then the commitment, I think it was 100 videos was the goal. So I was going to make 100 videos and try to get better after each one. And knowing that it was going to make me a better communicator via video. This was right in the middle of COVID. So we were all home. We were all making Zooms and switching from in-person to on the screen. And I knew that even if the videos flopped and the YouTube channel flopped, I'd at least get to become a little bit better via video communication. So that was a goal. The other thing with this, what helped with consistency in the beginning, I only made 3 to 5 minute videos, which is a lot easier than making a 10-minute or 15-minute video. So it was really just one concept I was trying to communicate very early on. That made the prep time a lot shorter. It made the recording time a lot shorter and the editing a lot shorter. So that helped with consistency, and it built that muscle of consistency with short videos until it got easier and easier. And then I was able to expand and go longer with some of these videos. So that's probably what I'd say with consistency there.
And so to be clear, you started out with a plan of putting out 100 videos, no matter what, just to make sure that you proved the concept.
Yeah.
Excellent. And I've heard Brad Johnson actually from Triad say, if you're going to start a podcast, you need to commit to 100 episodes or don't do any. And when advisors reach out to me about marketing, no matter what the platform is, I try and give that same advice. And I mean, gosh, Dave, I'm on episode, like, I think you're 262. Like, I've been doing this a long time. So It's easy for me to think through consistency and continuing to do it. But when you're starting, you really have to give that full commitment, don't you?
Yeah. And know too, that there's a lot of benefits. I think we'll talk about it. There's a lot of benefits that come with 100 videos, even if you did not get a client from it. And I'll explain that in a little bit, I think, as we keep talking. But there's benefits beyond growing your firm from just practicing this video stuff.
Okay, excellent. We've got our first question here from Alonzo Hall. It says, I'm currently creating content and I have over 2,000 videos. Would you suggest recycling content, deleting old things and re-recording them again as new content? You have any thoughts, Dave?
Yeah, I would do that. I would definitely do that. I do that now with I think there's maybe 350 videos on the Streamline Financial channel. I'll go back and I'll purposely look for, I don't know if you're using YouTube, which has great analytics, or if you're using short videos on LinkedIn or what, but I would look for the best performing ones or the ones that got the longest watch time, and redo those. And you're going to be better this time when you record it, probably because you've had 2,000 tries at this. Make it a little bit better. Don't do the exact same script, tweak a little bit. You've got new experiences, new stories, put some of those in there. But for the framework, yeah, I would definitely recycle it. Nobody remembers what you said 3 weeks ago, probably. That's what right. I think.
That's right. Alonzo, thank you for the question. All right. So, Dave, I've also heard you talk about niching, and you've said that the most successful channels speak to one person and one core problem. How important is it to niche down? And can you share how Streamline focused on retirement, and that really helped? I've heard you talk about how that really helped your algorithm as it relates to your ideal audience.
Yeah. So niching down, the goal, it's not even a small niche. What I'm talking about on the Streamline Financial channel, it's retirement, which is, millions of people. But it was important. So I would talk about retirement planning concepts, but when I would talk about maybe something that's not quite retirement related, I'd always be sure to mention retirement or have retirement in the title or the thumbnail or something like that. And it took a while because, again, no views for the first 10 months. But once the algorithm figured it out that this is retirement content, it was like overnight, almost all of the people they were showing the videos to were 55 plus, which is who we're looking for. Now, so it takes a while, but if you can stay focused on one thing or a few, maybe 3 things all related, and use those keywords, use those things over and over, it'll figure it out. And again, it's the best marketing platform out there because it takes your video you created, it goes and finds your perfect ideal client once the algorithm figures it out, shows them the video, and then they pay you when they watch the video. There's no other marketing platform out there that does that I'm aware of, to pay you to grow your business. It's amazing. So yeah, I would niching down. I like to talk a lot, Jay. So feel free to butt in, but niching down, yes, do it.
No, I want you to talk. I love it. So let's go a little bit deeper on a couple of those things. First, I believe you're saying you don't feel that retirement is enough of a niche. You should be even more narrowly focused. Did I understand you correctly?
I think you could. I mean, if you are retirement focused, I think you can get away with it because there is just a huge audience. And the advisors that I see create YouTube channels and who spend a little bit of time focusing on it are growing fast. So I think there's still a lot of space if you are just talking general retirement. I mean, watch some of the videos that are popular on my channel. Some of the things you'll see are that they are not financial related, but more non-financial related parts of retirement, purpose and meaning, and after work. But take a look. I think you can get away if you're retirement. I'd say you could probably talk about it without niching down to say retirees who were executives of Fortune 500 companies. You don't probably have to do that. I think that would be good if you really, if you had 2 or 3 companies where you were the master of their incentive stock options or master of their whatever their plans, defined benefit plans. That'd be great if that was really your target market. Focus just on that, and you don't need thousands of views on videos. You probably need a few hundred to be really successful. So it can go both ways. I know Rick Edelman will say you want to get as small as possible, niche down as small as possible, and forget about the mass audience. It doesn't work. I would say with retirement, it probably is still okay to go after that market if you're creating content. But it's not a bad idea if you get super specific. You're going to have more of a moat, more of a barrier for competition if you do get super specific. But I think either way, you probably just test it out and see what happens. I think that's a big piece of this whole thing is just trying, failing, staying consistent, and then using what works.
Fair enough. Yeah. Like all marketing, iteration's important. Yeah. You had mentioned earlier too about monetization with your YouTube channel. For folks that have no idea what that looks like, could you walk through how they could get paid to make content?
Yeah. So monetization happens after you get 4,000 hours of watch time and 1,000 subscribers. I think it took a year or over a year for that to happen at the Streamline Financial channel. And the reason why we turned it on, at first I was thinking of not turning it on. My goal was the least barriers for someone to watch a video. So I don't want to put ads in front of them. I want them to see the video and then either to sign up for the email list or do the lead magnets, which we'll talk about. But then when I found out that YouTube is showing them ads at the beginning and the end, no matter what, and not paying us. So click the button, turned it on. It becomes it's not a huge revenue generator. It was maybe, 3% of revenue last year, but it helps pay for some of the marketing things. If we upgrade the camera or upgrade things like that. It actually did turn out to be a lot of money last year because of went crazy on YouTube and had over 8 million views. So that was a lot. But in the beginning, it was like, get enough to pay for a few of these ancillary marketing things, upgrades, cameras, stuff like that. So not the main focus, but if it happens, turn it on. Might as well.
Yeah. I got to tell you, it's not often I have a guest on that generates revenue for me. I didn't turn it on. I have not turned it on for the very reason you laid out. There's really no reason to not turn on monetization. Is what you're saying.
I would turn it on. I still don't put ads in the middle of the videos. Again, I don't think we need to do that or want to do that. But I would turn it on. And what might even happen is YouTube, they're going to show the ads no matter what. I've heard in the past that maybe they'll even want to promote it more if you are doing ads because that's their whole business model for most of it is advertising. So it might be good for the channel. But yeah, I would turn it on.
Awesome. So I've heard you say that it's really important to document instead of create. So walk us through how you turn client questions, and I love your e-money what if scenarios, into engaging content.
Yeah. So that was big, especially in the beginning, because I didn't have to come up with content ideas for YouTube videos. I would almost every day I would write down, instead of saying what should I create this week, I thought about who did I help this week, or what scenario, how did I help somebody? And that's the whole thing. I just looked at client conversations or prospect conversations and saw this was a super helpful thing for this client who was going through this thing. So then I would take that idea and then just either speak or type it out, and then plug it into a framework of what was the problem. Sometimes amplify the problem, what pain did it cause, and then what was the solution that we talked about. And that's how a lot of the content was created. So it was just thinking about the day and thinking about who was helped, and that helped create a ton of content in the early days.
Yeah, it makes so much sense. And another one of your concepts is simplifying things so that they can be understood at an 8th grade reading level. How can some tools, I've heard you mention that you use Hemingway, I believe, help advisors simplify this content? And how does preparing for the videos in advance make them better communicators in their client meetings?
Yeah, Hemingway was great. I think I mentioned that 2 or 3 years ago. Now AI, whether it's ChatGPT, Claude, or any of them, can do the same thing and helping you simplify what you wrote down to 6th, 7th, or 8th grade level. So Hemingway is probably implementing the same AI and things, but if you're already using a tool like ChatGPT, probably do the same thing, which is just write what you want to say, the script, short or long, plug it in and ask it to simplify it so it's easy to receive, because the brain wants to do it just wants to conserve energy, right? It wants to protect you and conserve energy. So when it sees complicated things or words that it doesn't understand, it's harder to stay engaged. And when someone's on YouTube who has unlimited things that they could look at and click off to, or any app on their phone, you want to keep it as simple and keep them as engaged as possible by using simple language. So that was big. And then there was a second part of the question. What was that, Jay?
The second part of the question, as it relates to how it can help your client meetings, the preparation for these videos.
In writing, most of the time, if you're going to create content, most of the time will be spent not on recording, hopefully not on editing, but on writing. Probably 70% or 80% is what I'd recommend, because what you're doing, let's pretend, take one of the, Roth conversions is the easy video to talk about. When you write out and try to think through ways to explain this in an easy to understand way so that it's beneficial for your client, as you're writing a script, you'll think of ways that are good and some ways that are not as clear. But the whole process of thinking and just clarifying and simplifying, it is going to help for the video script or the written piece. It's also going to help when you're talking to a client live, because you've thought about it so much. And then you start using the same language for that concept that you've got, whether it's, tax loss harvesting or whatever, tax gain harvesting, or any of the strategies we use. You'll have these little quips or little quotes, or maybe even drawings. I used a lot of drawings on the YouTube channel that helps draw people in. But you'll get so much better at just communicating to prospects and clients too about all these concepts when you write and think. Thinking is hard to do because you got to take time and be quiet and do nothing but think and write. But if you do it, it does help your communication in big, big ways.
Yeah. Yep. And Dave, you're a complete gentleman there with the Hemingway comment. Obviously, I said I'd put in a lot of your old content to pull into an AI tool to pull out questions, and that must have come from a long time ago. I assume that's not part of your workflow anymore.
Right. Yeah. I'll just use one of the AIs out there.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, let's talk about your workflow. So how much time are you spending on marketing each week?
So it has increased over the years. I'll talk about what it was like the first year, because the first year I had a full load of clients. I was owner of Streamline Financial with Tim, still am. But I was doing a lot of the ownership duties and people management. I was also bringing on new clients at that time. So it was full advisor duties and adding on top of it marketing duties, which I'm guessing that if you haven't started yet, you might be an advisor doing that too, or wanting to do that. So in the first year, the goal again was one video a week, try to make 100 videos and limit it to 1 hour a week. That was if I went over that, it would have felt like I was wasting. It's hard to remember, but I know that it was just like, I just don't have the time. I can't do it all. So I'm going to limit it to 1 hour. Now with AI, again, it's going to make that a lot easier for you. So the workflow for the 1 week out of that 1 hour, I'd say was 30 to 40 minutes of the idea and the writing and plugging it into a framework, writing framework. And then 10 to 15 minutes of recording. And recording, we're going to get to some of the tools that make it so much easier, because I'm not a professional speaker, but the tools make you look like one. And we'll talk about some of those. So short amount of time recording, one take. That's actually one of the biggest tips I could give to anybody. If you're doing video, do one take no matter what. Even if you mess up, pretend I was saying this sentence and I forgot what to say. So now I got to go back and say, pretend I was saying this sentence and I forgot what to say. I would just do that. I wouldn't go back to the beginning of the video. Don't do that. That disrupts the whole flow. Just mess up the sentence, then just go back to that sentence that you messed up and keep going. And the editing tools will get rid of it for you automatically. We'll talk about that. So, and then the last bit, 5 to 10 minutes of editing. It was so easy to do it in 1 hour because, again, 3 to 5 minute videos, not a lot of time. The hardest part was the thinking and writing and creating. So that was the workflow for the first year. Now, as it's expanded and the results that we get, it's so much easier to spend more time and spend more money on this marketing process and YouTube in general, because it's already paying off big time for the firm. So there's a lot more time that goes into it now, but I wouldn't recommend investing, 10 hours a week on marketing if you're doing a full load of work already. Does that make sense, Jay?
Yeah, it does make sense. So thinking about it from where you are in your marketing program, if you're just starting out, hour a week, if you're getting good at it, getting results, then maybe you put a little bit more time into it. A couple of things in there I really love to unpack because I get these questions a lot. I'm going to start with one that actually came from one of our viewers. It's Alonzo again. And this is kind of a setup because we are recording this live, but do you suggest doing live streams to attract potential viewers or clients?
Me personally, no, but that's just my own opinion. And part of it, Alonzo, is because I was so bad at video. Now you've got 2,000 videos already. You might be natural and good and you prefer live stream like Jay does. So part of it's personal preference. Part of it is me in the beginning being so bad. I needed the editing tools to look like a normal person, because I was here. I'll just share it now. You've got the script and I'll read the first sentence. And then I'll say it to the camera and then I'll pause and then I'll go back to the next sentence on my piece of paper here, read it, and then go to the camera and say it. That's literally how I recorded these videos, and they still did well. And the AI tools like Descript, you click a button and it edits out all of those pauses and turns them into simple jump cuts. That's not awkward, because when you watch any YouTube video, you'll see that almost everything is jump cuts. Part of the reason is to keep engagement and scene change. But for you, if you do like it, do it. And again, everything's a test. Try 10 live streams, try 10 recorded videos. What do you like better? What's getting better results? Do more.
There's also compliance considerations for financial advisors. They might not be able to live stream unless they get pre-approved and they have a lot of experience doing live content. I tell you, I was heavy in live streaming during the pandemic. Like you said, everybody was stuck in their house. We would do 3 broadcasts a day. We had an audience for it. I was fortunate. I was in the beta group on LinkedIn for live streaming. And so that, provided a lot of exposure, but it's a lot of work to do a live stream. I mean, you can mess things up. It's live. And you don't have the benefit of obviously editing until you go and turn it into a podcast. So I went back to pre-recorded for a couple of years, but I've gone back to live because, Dave, my concern is there's so many AI tools now that can create video for you that seem fake today, but won't be fake at some point, that this really just created a little bit of a different dynamic as it relates to reaching out to an audience in an authentic way. Because, I mean, this is live. I can mess it up in real time, as you know.
Yes, that's true. And that's actually a great point, Jay, because if over the last year and a half, from what we've seen and from what the YouTube experts are saying, is that the longer form, including some of the mess ups and showing that you're human, is super important. And you can do that unrecorded. You will do it on live, most likely. But there was this idea of retention editing. I don't know if you've heard of Mr. Beast, where it's like, big flashes on the camera every 3 seconds to keep engagement. Well, for us, we got a little bit of a benefit having retirees who are 55 plus, who have a little bit longer attention spans than maybe 20-year-olds do. So we didn't need that stuff. We never wanted that stuff. But the thing that's working on YouTube now is these longer form, minimal editing, almost no retention editing happening, because people are connecting that with that even more so than kind of I don't know, not call it fake, but it's just overproduced content.
Yeah.
So I see what you're saying about that. I think that's why it's important now to really get started, because there are tools out there that are creating AI versions of people, and they're really good. They're not, you can still tell right now, but I think having the history and a lot of videos behind you, so a connection of people before the full AI thing comes into play and everybody can do it at a click of a button. I think it's important to get that history now and that relationship now, even though it's via video, so that there's proof you arrived before the easy AI editing avatars were abundant for all. You know what I mean? I don't know if that is true, but I think it's worth thinking about. Start now.
I mean, I feel like I'm connected to a lot of financial advisors on LinkedIn. That's my market. And I feel like half the posts I see that get fed to me, I don't think the advisor has written them. You can tell.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that has to be watering down whatever footprint they think they're building. And you have to wonder what the implications then are for blogging. Not to take us off topic as it relates to talking about YouTube, but someday, to your point, that comes back here to this channel. Who's authentic and who's not?
Yeah. Blogging, I don't know. I mean, that's important now, because here's what I'm hearing is, that the thoughts of SEO is kind of going away, and now it's AEO, or AI, engine optimization. The idea of the blog is probably not make it easy to read for your clients and prospective clients. What I've heard is turn it into a whole bunch of questions and answers, and have that for all the things we talk about, any of the content that we're creating, Q&A on the blog, because it's easier for AI to read and scan, and the questions are easier to match up with people's questions when they're typing into ChatGPT, what to do about a certain thing. So I don't know if you've heard anything about that with strategy of blogging, but I think the traditional blogging might be less important. And I think less people are going to blogs these days. I don't know what's your thought on that, Jay?
Yeah, actually, I had a chance to interview Kendra Wright from Rebel Media Agency last week, and we talked about this, and this is right in her wheelhouse. And she said that the importance of that, making sure any content you have out there, if it is a blog, a LinkedIn post, an X post, is optimized for AI search. And at Titleist Asset Management, we use the team at intentionally. And that's one of their big initiatives with all the content we're putting out, is to make sure it's not only SEO, but AI engine optimized. But I got to be clear, I have no idea what I'm talking about. And that's why I like to bring on people who do.
Yeah. So, love it.
All right, let's talk about the tech stack and your process of going through video creation. Could you just walk an advisor soup to nuts, if they're new to video podcasting for YouTube, what they need to do from a technology standpoint?
Yeah. So if you are new, I'll share what I did. And it was iPhone and a wired lapel mic and a tripod, and then a window, window to the outside for light. A lot of the first videos were that. After, the next upgrade was 2 light boxes for what I have now, kind of more natural light coming in, which costs like, $75 or something to get light boxes, which are, on Amazon or wherever you buy it. And that helped for recording any time of day instead of just during the day when the light was right outside. And then I can't remember how many videos afterwards, but then I got the nice camera. Sony A6400 is what it is. It creates, I don't know if it's happening now, but usually it kind of blurs the background. It makes the makes the video just a little bit easier to look at. That's the tech for recording. The other big important one was I used a $100 prompter, which is called the Parrot prompter. I went super cheap here because again, in the beginning, there's no results. I don't know if this is going to be successful. I didn't want to waste a whole bunch of time and a lot of money with no results yet, even though I knew that I wanted to help people. Again, you need that mindset. So Parrot prompter was $100. You put an old iPhone in there, have your new iPhone with the script on it, and you could just scroll here as the new one or as it goes to the old phone. And I'm reading off that. So now upgraded stack is, so that nice camera, the Elgato prompter, which is like a second screen. So I've got the computer down here and it's connected to the Elgato prompter, which is up here. That's more expensive, probably $300. And then this mic is a Shure mic. So no more wired lapel. Same light boxes. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Those are the main things. And then when it comes to the editing, Descript, DESCRIPT, and Ecamm Live. And the reason why Ecamm Live is like a switch box that can switch from press a button on the Mac and it goes from filming me and then press a button and it goes straight to the iPad screen, Notability on here. So I could draw, or I've got an image or something. And it's that's a thing that helps with engagement when you're not just a talking head, but you're going back and forth to whether it's the whiteboard behind you, or I chose the digital whiteboard. That's the iPad connected to Ecamm Live. And then Ecamm Live takes the file after it's done and just puts it on the desktop automatically. No SD cards or things you have to take out of the camera. Just happens. And then I drag it to Descript, click a couple buttons, and that was the editing process. Now, Descript is nice because if you haven't used it, you put the photo or you put the video in, and then it automatically gives you all the transcript, the text. And if you want to cut pieces out where the AI didn't do it, you can just copy. It's like editing a Word doc, and that's editing the video itself. So I had no previous video editing, but I was able to do that for 2 years on my own and grow to, I can't remember how many tens of thousands of subscribers. But that process worked. And then I gave it to my EA, and she was able to learn Descript. In 2024, she did all the editing, and we had over 8 million views on the YouTube channel from someone who's not a professional editor, but can use these tools just as easy as I could. So I think anybody can do it. You just got a little bit of a learning curve, but anybody could do it. So that's the big tech stack. Anything you could think I'm missing there, Jay?
No, not at all. I used Ecamm 10 years ago with my first podcast. Boy, it's come a long way. I'd love to unpack that a little bit because I've been hesitant to pull out a whiteboard behind me. I know that it works and it's really helpful for simplicity. But just to make sure I understand, with the Ecamm tool, you and I are having a conversation. And if I wanted to show you how I would do if I'm making a solo video and I want to show you how I would do a Roth conversion through some type of drawing, I can then pull it up on the iPad, draw it out. It shows up on the screen and then puts it in the tool that you use with Descript. Is that accurate?
Yep. That is it. That's exactly it. It's either, you can have it pop up next to your head, so you're still talking, and then there's a whiteboard right here as you're drawing. Or you can have it take over the whole screen. You could even get fancy, which I don't do, and have it pop up behind you as a whiteboard, but you're really using the iPad. So there's some cool things you could do there automatically with Ecamm. And then the other thing was you can also share your screen, your actual, the computer screen. And that's what I did for some of the e-money presentations and looking at the toggles and the what if scenarios. That was so easy to just click a button, go to the screen, still be talking, and then go back to the face, talk a little and go through any of those. And the other thing is, not to get too fancy or complicated, but if you have multiple cameras, you could switch between cameras, again, just for scene changes, just to keep someone, a video with a static background versus a video with trees and leaves moving in the background. The trees and leaves will do better. Usually it's harder to record outside, but because there's movement, the person in the brain likes to see some sort of transition happening instead of just a face, the whole time. So anytime you can screen switch, that could help with engagement levels.
Last year, we did a lot of two cameras for post production, and those videos did exponentially better, especially in short
Interesting.
form videos. Obviously, I guess you could do it live. I'm not that technically savvy, and I think that might lead to some potential problems
Yeah.
when you're doing it live. But I think that would be helpful. But for the beginner, you don't need to do all that. I think the
No.
big takeaway, if you're new to this, is Descript, and that's something I've used for a long time. And then I had an editing team come on board to take over it for me. It is an incredibly simple tool to use. The learning curve for Ecamm, Dave, I actually ditched Ecamm about 5 years ago because it got complex. Is it easier today?
So I started 5 years ago, and now I'm not doing lives. I know you can do live things on there. So I'm not sure about that. But I think the reason why I use it and pay for it is, and I don't know how you do it too, but that idea of you record and then you're done and the file is right on the camera or right on the computer already, and it's drag and drop. That this sounds maybe silly, but like I don't want to take the SD card out of the thing, plug it in, and then see all the things I've got on there and then take that. It's like maybe it only saved 5 minutes, but I found it so easy. It's so much easier to just do that drag and drop. You don't have to unplug anything or do anything. And then two, the screen switching. I might be fortunate because I didn't explore every tool. I looked at OBS and Ecamm, and I heard if you're using a Mac, Ecamm Live is much better. Watched a couple videos and then I was off and rolling, and I just didn't think about it after that. So I for what I'm doing, I found it easy. I'm not sure about the lives though.
Okay, excellent. I'm going to go back and look at that tool now. It seems like it has really come a long way. All right, I don't want to run out of time here. Let's
Oh yeah.
let's so we talked about what to record, how to record it, how to process it using Descript. You don't need a big fancy production team. Then distribution, Dave. How do you approach the distribution of your videos and anything post-production?
Yeah. So post-production, distribution, I focused on one thing, which was getting it to YouTube. And I rarely did in the early days, and maybe this is why it took some time, not sure. But I didn't have an email list that I was sending videos to. I didn't post it on LinkedIn or Twitter or whatever else out there, other social medias. I just left it to YouTube to figure it out. And maybe, I don't know if that was a good thing or a bad thing, but again, partly with the time component, it was like, I can do one thing and I could try to get good at it. That's what I'm going to focus on. And it's going to be the YouTube videos and the script writing. So distribution happened naturally once YouTube figured it out, and they're the distribution channel now. Now I will sometimes post things on LinkedIn or Twitter, and email list. I'll do that now. But in the beginning, I didn't. I'm easily overwhelmed, I think, especially with starting something new. So it's like, I'm just going to do one thing. I did not do a lot of distribution. So does that answer the question, Jay?
Oh, absolutely. And listen, there's a common theme here. If you've been watching Resilient Advisor viewers for the past couple of episodes, Jason Wink talked about focusing on one thing that you're going to do and be really world-class at it. Kendra Wright talked about if you're going to market, have one avatar you're going after, one platform, and master it. And Manesh Kahata came on and he said, man, if you're going to market, you have to go all in on one platform. The common theme here is master one platform first before you go omni-channel and worry about making complex systems. Dave, it sounds like that's part of the secret to your success here.
I think it is. And I heard that from, Robert Herjavec, one of the Shark Tank guys.
Yeah.
He said that exact thing. He's like, do one thing and get really good at it. That's it. So that was 5 years ago. And I'm like, okay, one thing, video, YouTube. That's what, now again, I did have the full business and everything else to do, but that was the new one thing, I guess. When it comes to marketing, we really started marketing in 2019, and then 2020 is when we started the YouTube channel. But yeah, I'd agree.
That is tremendous growth. Tell me, anything else you think advisors should know about YouTube marketing before we pivot?
YouTube marketing, the important, again, back to the script and the hook of the video is very important. And just quick advice there is three things. A story hook where you start with a story. You're not using client names and things. You're switching names and maybe some of the numbers and scenario, but story hook where you drop in because it's an open loop. Or a question hook where you ask a question at the start of your video. That's probably the easiest. And that opens a loop too for the viewer, or a big statement, bold statement at the start of the video as like either cognitive dissonance or just like a surprising question. Start the video like that. That will help a lot. And then the same thing with the YouTube thumbnail and title. If you're doing YouTube, cognitive dissonance, where it gets someone to ask a question in their head of like, is that right? And just scroll through I don't do big fancy YouTube thumbnails, with a lot of editing. It's using Canva, and it's my face, the same image for most of them, and some text on the screen. But read the text, the title and the text on the screen for the thumbnail, just to get an idea of that cognitive dissonance or question, or kind of that clickability. That's big for marketing for YouTube.
Excellent. I got one follow-up question on thumbnails. Do you go back and change thumbnails over time if you're not redoing the video to get a new audience?
I have, and I would actually hire someone. I want to hire someone to do that, because the first probably 75 videos was Google Slides, I believe, creating thumbnails on Google Slides. And they're probably not very good. They still do pretty well and have. But yes, I do. Especially, this is getting into the weeds, and this is when you have more time. But if you see a video where there's a high percentage of people, there's this retention graph where it starts at 100% of people are watching. And then it's common for a quick decline down to 70% or something like that, where people drop off in the first 30 seconds. But if you have a video where it only goes down to 80%, and they watch longer, but it doesn't have a lot of views, that video is really important, but the packaging is all wrong. So those are the videos I would go back to and change, and try something new. And now YouTube allows you to put in 3 thumbnails, different thumbnails, and it splits test them. It allows you to put in 3 titles, and it will split test them, and it'll choose the best combo after which one gets the highest click rate. So it's a lot easier now. But yeah, I think that's very important to go back and update some of those.
Excellent. So an advisor goes out, they build their YouTube machine, leads are coming in, clients are coming on board. You've built the right awareness engine. Next, you need to turn those clients into lifelong fans. Dave, you've built a course, and I think I might have clearly botched some of the setup for what the course is at the beginning of this podcast. Can you tell us about the future of advice at a high level?
Yeah. So the future of advice is Ron Bullis and I, and it is all the frameworks and scripts and templates and just everything you need to how to find clients, or prospects, which is marketing, how to turn those prospects into clients, which is sales strategy, and then how to keep them happy forever, which is client experience. Those are the 3 most important things we need to do. This course is full of videos for each one of those things, and live calls every two weeks with me and Ron. And then other experts sometimes we bring on. And then there's also a strategy module, which is really the foundation of any financial planning firm. Even if you've been doing it for 15 years, getting back to strategy, and especially over the next 5 years, and the changes that are most likely to come with AI doing more and more, and even getting into financial planning. We're seeing that already. We're going to have to adapt in some way, and the strategy module is huge for getting clear on that. So that's the course, futureofadvice.com. You could check out, or we'll put a link somewhere. But that's for advisors. Now, the course I built, were you asking about the course for clients or prospects?
No, for advisors, because my audience are predominantly financial advisors. If you're watching this and you're not a financial advisor, I'm not sure what you're going to get out of it. But Dave, you're so
my mom.
giving.
Thanks, Mom. He's
Thanks,
not a
Mom.
financial advisor. So
that's right. That's right. You've always been so giving with helping advisors and sharing what you do, what you've done, what's worked, what hasn't. You have a great newsletter that I highly recommend people go and subscribe to, streamlinefinancial.com. But this course
StreamlineMyPractice.com is the newsletter for advisors.
I'm sorry, StreamlineMyPractice.com /newsletter. And you can get Dave's newsletter. But this course kind of stood out to me. And I was looking through, I guess, the syllabus, the different modules that you have. One of them, the course is on the first 100 days creating raving fans for life. And I really appreciated how methodical and process driven this was. So why does the window of the first 100 days matter so much?
Yeah. So we're working a lot on that at Streamline Financial. And it's partly due to, again, I get to work with Ron, but I'm also learning from Ron, the guy that we're doing academy with. And a big thing that I learned in the future of advice was the peak end rule. And I'm actually looking at notes because I'm going to record a video for the future of advice on this, but I want to share some of it here. So peak end rule, Daniel Kahneman. I'm going to read, so I'm not looking at you. Sorry, Jay. Clients don't judge an experience by the whole experience. It's only two things that they remember: the peak, the most intense thing. It could be a good or bad thing, which is the peak, and then the end, how it ended. So in thinking about client experience in the first 100 days, you think about after. So say we've got a 2-meeting process for prospects: intro call and then 1-page plan delivery meeting. What happens between the intro call and the 1-page plan meeting? We send them an email with all of the statements and a link to upload their statements and everything that we need. And yes, it's required and we need to do that, but it's kind of homework and it's tedious and it's not a great experience. So we've got to, this is what we're doing this year, is testing just a few videos. That's not so much about getting them to give something, but it's more about giving something or teaching something important. So we're trying to increase the experience that way. And there's some unique things we're doing. And then after the 1-page plan meeting, when they say yes to working together, I don't know if you've ever seen the book by Joey Coleman, which is How to Never Lose a Customer Again. There's 8 stages of a prospect journey, to become a client. And he talks a lot about the first 100 days. So that's an interesting book to think about. But the big thing, here's stage 2, which is called admit. And I'm reading from this thing I'm going to teach on in the academy. Client commits to work with you. But then right after that, that's when buyer's remorse happens. Even with financial planning and getting a new advisor, there's still this thing where it's like, yeah, this sounds great. This is exactly what I want. They're saying, and yeah, ready to work together. You hang up the phone or the Zoom or whatever, and the next 24 hours is crucial to reaffirming them that they made the right choice. For us, for a long time, we would end the 1-page plan after they said yes and said, great, one of our client service associates is going to reach out to you next week so we can get all the information and get the apps going, blah, blah, blah. That's not a great experience. Now we've got something that's happening within immediately 5 minutes afterwards, and then the next day, and then in 3 days, they're getting a package. So there's these little wow moments in client experience to just, it's not hard to do, but it's just like deciding to do it and then setting up the system so you don't forget. But that affirming after the first, I don't know if anyone else has had that experience where someone says yes, and then they second guess it and they don't become a client, or they ghost you or something like that. That has happened to us. And now this is going to combat that. So that's a little bit on client experience in that first 100 hours, or first 100 days. The other thing is that idea, which I've heard many years ago, around like after the first 30 days, they get their first statement from whatever custodian, reaching out to them at that time, say, hey, you probably got this a couple of days ago. Let me know if you want to do a review, because it's a new looking statement than what it was at Fidelity or Schwab or whatever. Let me know if you want to review. And just like hitting those touch points and having a few of them and access to you is just huge. So there's a lot more I'm going to teach on that, but hopefully that was helpful.
Oh my gosh, there's so much to unpack there, Dave. We could do a whole episode on this. And when I coach advisors, I overstress the importance of this. And the reaction is really, really interesting. So a younger advisor who may be, and I don't mean somebody who's 22 years old. I'm talking about somebody in their early 30s. They get it. They understand the idea of experiences. They've been grinding in this newer economy the past 10 years where marketing is different and client experience is different. Folks that are Gen X and older, like when I talk to them about this client experience, especially if they've been quasi-successful, they look at me like a deer in headlights and they think, why would I go through and do all that stuff? I haven't had to my whole career. You sign up, you get your plan, you get your models, you're on my newsletter, and we do an update once or twice a year. Have you, in your coaching and working with advisors, found a generational divide around this first 100 days at all?
So generational divide, you mean between ages or
Yeah, well,
with advisors?
yeah, maybe it's not a generational divide. Maybe it's a success divide. An advisor who's already extremely successful, not being as concerned about implementing this 100-day process that you talk about, a great client onboarding experience and being intentional about it, versus newer advisors that know that.
Yeah. You're right. Because I think it's more about desire for growth. Because there's so many advisors who are maybe it doesn't have to be age, but usually if you're in your 50s and 60s and you've been doing it for 20 years, you've built this amazing business, and it's you've got a group of clients you like, and it's a profitable business, and you really just have to sustain and maintain. Now, some people, a different type of mentality, still wants to grow. And I think it's the growth mindset that would be more inclined to adopt this never being satisfied with the service that you're giving, because maintenance is saying that's fine, go till you die or whatever you want to do. But like usually when you're younger, you've got more of a growth mindset and you're thinking, I don't like to talk about competition a lot because like we're all unique individuals and there's no competition between us. But you do want to have an experience that's different, because oftentimes different is better than better when someone's going through the process for advisor A, advisor B, advisor C. The ones that is different is probably more memorable, especially if you're doing some of these little wow moments. So yeah, I think, again, I've rambled too long on this, but I think it's like, if you got a great business already and you don't care about growth, who cares? I don't need to wow anybody. I'll just ride it out. But if you want to grow, they're the ones thinking about this for sure.
Different is better than better. That's going to be the quote from this episode, Dave. And you definitely weren't rambling on about it. This is so incredibly important. And it's amazing to me how so many successful advisors don't understand how important this is. So that course would be an incredible framework for advisors who do want to level up their game. So let's wrap with this. Who is that course for, and where can they go learn more information?
Yeah. So the future of advice is we've got people who have been in the industry for 20 years. And they have the growth. I think we just talked about two types of advisors: growth mindset and sustain, maintain, and just coast. This is for the growth mindset people, advisors who are doing a good job. They're good at what they do, but they're looking for next level. And if you don't have a system for marketing, if you don't have a system for sales, once we implemented the sales system, everything got so much easier. If you don't have a great client experience or process that keeps them happy forever, like the first year is great because you deliver so much value. And then sometimes people get on autopilot and there's less to deliver, but you can keep wowing them every year where they're happier and happier to be working with you, and they never leave. So if you're a growth mindset person who wants to improve those things, and the last thing was strategy, then check it out. At least look at the page on the Future of Advice Academy to see what's in it. And then it's an application. So not everyone can join, but you do have to talk to someone where we make sure it's a good fit for you. But you could apply and then talk to someone.
Excellent. You can apply in the show notes wherever you find your podcast or videos on YouTube. Dave, thank you so much for coming on. This was a really, really helpful show.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
The listener of this content should not assume that any information presented or made available on or through this media channel is receipt of or substitute for personalized investment advice. Titleist Asset Management, LLC, or TAM, is an SEC-registered investment advisor. Registration with the SEC does not imply a certain level of skill or expertise. TAM provides its services to individuals, high net worth investors, including trusts and other legal entities, and provides access to model portfolio strategies offered through its affiliate, Shorebird Capital LP. For a copy of TAM's disclosure documents, please visit www.advisorinfo.sec.gov and follow the search instructions.